Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Video Clips. And during this segment of the week, I usually talk about something personal, and I'll get to that. I have some things to say first. I want to remind you, though, that we have some stuff coming up that I think you're interested in. I'm teaching a kidney health and kidney disease course, Saturday, the 23rd of January. I'm teaching a course on HIV/AIDS. I'm teaching a research and writing boot camp. We've got a food allergies class coming up that I'm not teaching, but one of our affiliates is teaching. And so lots going on here in terms of educational programs. So Pam Popper at msn.com is my email address. If you want to send me an email and tell me about your interests, and we'll see if we can figure out where you fit in best here in terms of learning from us. We have thousands of hours of educational programming and thousands of articles, referenced articles on everything from, kidney stones to stage 4 cancer treatment. Oh, and I'm teaching some great courses on cancer too. I've got a Cancer 201 series that investigates alternative treatment. I'm teaching on mistletoe and Rife technology. I've got a couple classes coming up there. So lots to do here if you want to learn about health in addition to COVID. Most of our programming actually isn't COVID related. All right, so today I want to talk about perseverance because it's going to be required as we go forward and work on solving the huge problems that we all face and our country faces and our kids and our elderly, and we have big messes to clean up. So the definition of perseverance is continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. The action or condition of an instance of persevering, steadfastness. That's the actual dictionary definition. And I took some of this information from a great article in the Epoch Times by Tatiana Denning called The Power of Perseverance. Failure is a passing thing for those who get up and try again. So some of this comes from this article, and I really recommend Epoch Times as a great place for information about everything from politics to health to world affairs, all kinds of things. So according to psychologist Angela Duckworth, perseverance is like grit. And here's what grit isn't. It isn't talent and it's luck, and it's not just intensely wanting or wishing for something. It's not being afraid of failure or rejection. Grit definitely does not involve being stopped due to uncertainty or something you don't yet know, and it definitely does not mean caving into hardship. Perseverance requires endurance, and Buddha once said, endurance is one of the most difficult disciplines, but it is to the one who endures that the final victory comes. Perseverance requires mental toughness, the ability to endure suffering and the most difficult of hardships and inconveniences. It means getting up and trying again and again and again and again. It means trusting that you're going to succeed when things are uncertain and the odds seem insurmountable, and particularly when other people tell you that you won't. And according to research studies, those who have higher levels of perseverance and optimism have lower levels of depression and anxiety. And so for some of you who are incredibly depressed and anxious right now for very good reasons, learning perseverance and optimism during these times, maybe that's the lesson of COVID for you. I've talked about the lessons I think I'm learning in this whole thing. According to researcher Nurhani Zainal, perseverance cultivates a sense of purposefulness that can create resilience against or decrease current levels of major depressive order, generalized anxiety disorder, and panic disorder. Our findings suggest that people can improve their mental health by raising or maintaining high levels of tenacity, resilience, or optimism. Our 30th president, Calvin Coolidge, said, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Persistence and determination are omnipotent. The slogan, 'Press on,' has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race." Our history is filled with people who failed, sometimes a lot before they succeeded. And I think we can take a lot of inspiration from these people. Henry Ford, for example, went bankrupt 5 times before he was successful with the Ford Motor Company. Thomas Edison is famous for trying 10,000 ways his invention didn't work before he came up with the way that it did. And he never thought of these things as failures, but rather steps to his eventual success. And he said, quote, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." Abraham Lincoln lost 8 elections before he became president of the United States. Perseverance, that's what these people had. It involves developing the character that can withstand challenges and disappointments and remaining optimistic while facing very difficult situations. It means managing frustrations and controlling our thoughts and emotions and taking responsibility for ourselves and our actions. Now, here's where we get to the stuff that I tell you guys every week. I don't like talking about myself, but I'm going to do it here. Maybe that's the lesson. One of the lessons I'm supposed to learn is to be more sharing more with people. So I've had my share of hardships, which have taught me perseverance. They've also made me very strong. You know, I think I mentioned in a previous video clip, my grandmother used to say all the time, well, the things that don't kill you will make you stronger. And I think that there's some truth to that. I grew up in an interesting home. Lots of good things taught, value of hard work, high expectations, to have high expectations of what I was going to do academically and that sort of thing, but also very dysfunctional. My mother, I think, looking back, was severely depressed. I never met my father's family. I did not know my paternal grandparents, and I only met my cousins and his brothers after my mother died, actually, at her funeral. And so there's some pretty screwed up things going on in the household where that goes on, right? At a certain point in time, when things in my home became kind of intolerable, my father moved me into somebody else's house. And I was quite young at the time. In other words, my dad, for all the great characteristics he had several, he just would not do anything about what was going on in our house. And I'll tell you more about that at a different time. It doesn't really matter all the details, but rather than solving the problem, it seemed like it was a better idea to just relocate me. And so this led to not speaking to my family for 17 years, total silence, not hearing from my parents. They didn't contact me, and I was pretty angry. So this is a bad way to start life. You know, not a whole lot of self-esteem by this point in time, a whole lot of anger. And I really didn't think about it too much. When you're angry, you don't think about being angry. You just act out, which I did. And later on, I started thinking about, you know, it's okay to be angry that your father wouldn't stand up for you and stuck you in somebody else's house rather than solve the problem that was going on in your home, because your parents are supposed to be the people that protect you, and mine clearly didn't. So anyway, it's a difficult start to adult life. And then I eventually got myself straightened around, thankfully, to become a productive member of society, because I certainly spent plenty of time not doing that for a while, acting out like you do when you're angry and you don't have a lot of self-esteem. I had a business failure. I actually had to declare bankruptcy, and that was not a fun moment in my life. I paid back most of it. The bankruptcy was to make some things that were kind of unwarranted go away. But in any case, more stories on that for the autobiography to come. But you know what the good thing about that is that the company that was involved in that, I didn't really care about so much, but this one I do. And so the learning lessons from that allowed me to carry over to here to do something that was on much better solid ground than what I was doing back then, and why I was able to build Wellness Farm Health into a success, right? So I'm not sorry about that. I'm not sorry about anything that's happened. I think, like Thomas Edison, even though I'm not as prolific or famous or maybe not as productive or contributing as much to society as he did, I think, like him, I have the same feelings about failures, that a lot of all this mess that happened to me was just the building blocks of getting where I am right now, which is to do something about what's going on right now. So why am I sharing all of this with you? Well, we are in for some hardships and disappointments as we work our way out of this mess. Not everything's going to go our way. I mean, every court ruling's not going to be in our favor. And even when it is, I think just to prepare you, the other side's going to appeal. You know, so this is going to take time. There are no quick fixes. And that's very frustrating, because I think everybody wakes up every morning and says, are we finished with this yet? And of course we're not. And that leads to frustration and so on and so on. So if we're going to take our freedoms and our lives back and take our country and our world back, we better buckle down, reach deep inside of ourselves, develop some perseverance and character and toughness and stick-to-itiveness, because the world is depending on people like you and I who have a clue as to what's going on and realize that we're into a descent into hell unless we reverse course and get ourselves back to a place that is livable for the future. And, you know, I think that what we all want to do, I don't know about you, I think about living a long, long time because I think I'm going to. That's the plan anyway. And, you know, so you're sitting in the proverbial rocking chair when you're 99 years old, the day before you go to sleep and just don't get up, which is how I'd like my life to end. And what I think we all want to do is remember that we developed and maintained a strength of purpose that allowed us to succeed when, and I think we all know this, force is much more powerful than us. We're pretty certain that we weren't gonna, all right? So this is a time for people to become stronger, not weaker. This is a time for people to join together in spite of all efforts to separate us from one another. And to realize anything is possible. Anything is possible if you will just think about it, set your mind to it, be committed and determined, not give up. Perseverance. Perseverance is the key. All right, thank you for watching. As usual, I'll pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy learning more about all this stuff, and I'll be back to you tomorrow with more news and information.